So we'll see OTBI report. So without writing any SQL queries or programming, you can create OTBI reports. But there are certain limitations when we create OTBI report. So Oracle is providing predefined subject areas. Within those subject areas, what are the dimensions we have across the dimensions, the attributes, whatever available, based on that you can create the OTBI reports. Let's see how to create the OTBI report. So go to Navigator. Under Tools, select Reports under Analytics. Select Reports under Analytics task. And you can select Analysis from this drop down, or directly you can click on Browse Catalog. Okay, you can just select Analysis, or you can select Browse Catalog. Let's select Browse Catalog. Now click on Home. To prepare OTBI report, just click on Analysis hyperlink. It will take you to the page where you can select the relevant subject areas. So these all are Oracle predefined. You cannot create any subject area. If you want to prepare report by using any one of the subject area, you can prepare. If you don't find relevant subject area as per your report requirement, only the option is BA reports. Okay, you have to pass the requirement to technical consultant. They can prepare the BA reports. If relevant subject area is available, you can use this attributes from the respective dimensions. We'll see that. What are the dimensions, subject areas we have. So now we'll choose one of the subject area related to payables. You just look for payable subject area. So here you could see subject areas. Any subject area is ending with real time that you can use for OTBI reports. It should end. The suffix should be real time. Then only you can get the relevant data. Otherwise, it doesn't support. Mostly this you can use for analysis. If you want to create the report also, yes, the same you can use as a report. So I want to use one subject area called as payables, invoices, transactions, real time. Click on this subject area. Just click on the subject area. Wait for a moment. It will take us to the page from where we can identify all the dimensions which are available within the subject area. Yes. So this is the subject area we selected: payables, invoices, transactions. And within that, we have a different dimensions. These are the different dimensions which you see in the folders. Okay, whatever you see the folder options, all you call as dimensions. In each dimension, you can find the relevant columns or say attributes. Now I want to prepare a report or some analysis. What attributes we require? I need business unit. So expand business unit. and select relevant columns, whatever we require. So we want business unit name. You just drag and drop here. And this you can collapse. What else we require? Say invoice details. Expand. Say general information. Expand it. So wait for a moment. If this general information folder in the most of the instances, it takes time. There is some bug with that. Yeah. So now under general information, you can see relevant attributes. So what are the attribute you require? You can select. So what attribute we need is so invoice date. Just drag and drop. Any other attributes you can select. So invoice number we need. Okay. So what are the attributes required? You can select. Okay, that's all. And collapse this and expand invoice amounts at folder, which you can call as dimension. From this dimension, you can select the relevant columns. So we need invoice amount. Drag and drop. Collapse this. And this collapse entire invoice details dimension. Now what other details we require? Say we need supplier details. So expand supplier. Just wait for a moment. It is taking time. Yeah. So we need attribute called as supplier name. Drag and drop. Just collapse. And supplier site. So from the site dimension, you can select the site. Site is nothing but site name. So this is how you can select what are the attributes you require. Other point is, so whatever available you can select, certain attributes may be part of the relevant tables. Those may not be available in this subject areas. So if you want to use those, you have to go with a BA report. The custom BA report need to be developed. We cannot use OTBI reporting. Yeah, just whatever available you can use. So whatever available in the tables which are not available in these subject areas, there is no alternative option to get it done. So whatever available you can use without writing any coding or programming. By just selecting required attributes, you can create the OTBA report. Now we selected, now you can see the result immediately. You can just click on results. Just click on results. So based on the attribute, whatever we selected, we are able to see the results. This is a business unit. This user has access and the site and the supplier name, invoice amount, invoice number, invoice date. These are all attributes you can see. You can just drag and drop and you can change the position. Mostly we use this for analysis purpose. Just refresh. Just 1 second. Then go to results. Just 1 second. What you can do is, I think there is some issue with this. Quickly we'll pick this. So this is the one. Select business unit name, invoice details, general information. So we need invoice number. Collapse invoice amount. So supplier name. Whatever we require, we can pick. Okay, this is how you can just pick and you can see the results here. And here, title level, you can click on edit and you can insert the logo if you want to insert any logo here to display in the report. Enable logo, and you can just upload the logos from your system, or else there are a few predefined you can choose. You can give the report title. Say digital invoice details. You can give subject area if required. Just click on done. This is how you can see. And here you can just update the format and all. Click on edit. Okay, now what you can do is, 1 second. Yeah. Just save this report first. Click on save. So always you can save in the shared folder. My folders only for current user. If you save something in my folders, it can be accessed by current user. If you place anything in the shared folder, that can be accessed by any user. So expand shared folder. So within the shared folder, you can save it in the custom folder. Again, within the custom, you may create separate folder and then you can save, or else directly you can save it. Say digital invoice details. OTBI, Oracle Transaction Business Intelligence, invoice details. Save. Save OK. Now just click on edit view. Sorry. Not this. Okay. So here click on edit. So I'm selecting one of the column called as invoice amount. Click on this gear icon and select column properties. And here you can set the style and column format, data formats. I want to set like the font style or font size for that column. You want to set some background color for that cells. So I want to set this background color. So that's how you can apply. For any column, any just formatting you can do by using this, the gear icons. Okay. Says done. So this is how you can select certain attributes and you can conduct some sort of analysis. And if you go and create one more invoice, automatically that information will get updated. That is the meaning of real time, whatever we have seen at subject area level. So if you compare this with OTBI, BA reports need to be developed by writing the SQL queries. But in case of OTBI, you no need to write SQL queries and scope is limited in case of OTBI. If any subject area is available, then you can prepare the report. You have data in the database, but relevant subject area is not available, Oracle is not providing. In that case, you cannot create any OTBI report or analysis. Only the option is BA report that should be done by technical consultant. So this is what you have to understand about the difference between BI and OTBI. Now we'll go through the formats. At the time of our bank account creation, what we did is we selected standard check format. Hope you remember that. If you go to bank accounts, the bank account level, we selected standard check format. We'll just go and review. So reality, we have to create the new formats. Go to bank accounts. Manage bank accounts. So as a part of payment document, you could see the payment format what we used is standard check format. This is the one which Oracle is providing. This is seeded. In every implementation, this format related template need to be customized by technical consultant, and based on the template we have to create the format. Now we'll see from where technical people can download and modify. Once the template is ready, how to create the format we will see. Say for example, your client is using 5 different bank accounts. 5 different bank accounts, the check formats could be different, or at least slightly there could be some difference in the alignments. It may be pay to or invoice or amount or a date section. At least certain alignments you can find one is different from other bank check formats. So for that reason, for every bank account, we have to create the separate format. First, technical consultant should modify the template. As a functional consultant, what we have to do is, if your client is using, say, HSBC Bank and Citibank, JP Morgan, 3 banks they are using, 3 banks related bank accounts they are using. Now we have to collect 3 cancelled checks from our client. For these 3 banks, we have to select 3 cancelled checks. That checks we have to give it to technical consultant. They take the measurements, height, width, the pay to is starting in the check from where, like how many character space they have to leave, and complete alignments what they can see in the physical check. Accordingly, they can take all the measurements. Based on those measurements, they develop the format with the right template. So within the template, they develop the format. Once the format is developed, you can create the format, to use in the bank account level. And payment process profile level also you can use. So we have to create the format. Let's see. So where technical people can see the templates, and once they modify, where we can upload or they can upload by using those templates, how we can create the formats to use in the bank account definition time or payment process profile definition time. Let's see that. If you want to go to formats which Oracle is providing, here, remove this. So just this is instance URL. The rest you have to remove the path. Type XMLP server. So this is extension you have to use XMLP publisher server, XML publisher server. Enter. So instance URL /XMLP server. You can go to these pages. You can go to these pages by using this navigation path also. Whatever we use to come to this page, you can use, but we will not have a full privileges. See, you can navigate from here also. From the navigator under tools, you can go to reports and analytics. If you click on browse catalog, you will be landing in the same relevant page. But don't take this navigation. Only the navigation is instance URL /XMLP server. Enter. Now select catalog. Select catalog. And here go to shared folders. Shared folders. Expand the shared folders. And scroll a little down. And expand financials. Expand financials. And and here scroll little down. Now select payments. So from here you can go to specific page where you can see all the formats what Oracle is providing related to payments. So this is the one you have to choose, disbursement payment file format. Here is the one, disbursement payment file formats. Now click on drop down. Okay, more, we have a more option. Click on drop down and click on customize. Click on customize. So now it will take us to the page where you can find all the payment related formats which Oracle is providing. So these are the formats technical consultant can use to create the formats what we require as per client requirement. You can find all the seeded formats here. The technical consultant job is they download these template and they modify these templates as per the check formats what client is using. Not only check formats, any other formats also. So the technical people has to modify. Say even EFT payments, electronic fund transfer. Oracle is providing seeded format. They download and they modify as per the requirement. Any formats. Now let's see the check formats. Here you can look for standard check format. This is the one you see here, standard check. So this is the format technical consultant can download and they can modify. So just click on, we are not going to modify anything, that is not our job, and they have to do this with a XML tool. They have to do these modifications, but just will go through the process. They just download. How to download? Click on edit. This file you can download. So it's RTF format. Open this. Okay, this they have to modify. What we do is, as a functional consultant, we collect the check leaf. Check we collect from the client. That check we will provide to this technical consultant. Then they can set this template information based on the physical check alignments. They can check pay to need to be printed where, and check related date, amount, invoice. If client wants to print the check number from the system, if they are using the blank stock, that information also they said. All the information what need to be printed. If they want to print the invoice details also, what are the amount we are paying, that amount is belongs to which invoices, that information also they want to share to the supplier. That information also technical people can map in the same format. So that format they can upload into the instance. Say for example, this is a format technical consultant downloaded. They do the modifications. To do the modifications, you need XML tool. With the tool only they can do the modifications. Once that is done, okay, they can save this. So you can save digital standard check format. You can save on the desktop and they do the modification. They'll just click here, there, and they use the tool and they do the right alignments. Once that is done, the technical consultant can upload the same here. How they can upload? Here, click on view as a list. Now click on create to upload. Click on upload. And you can give the name as digital check format. And the template which is created by technical consultant that you have to choose. Okay, this task can be that loading and all can be done by technical consultant. They download, they modify, they upload. Once that is available, you can create the format. This you can give as template or layout. Digital check template or layout. So select the template, whatever you just created and ready. So the template, you can just see, just be saved on the desktop. Digital standard check, select it. And you just select type of the template, that is RTF template. And language, select language. So language, United States, English United States, and upload. Just click on upload. So now what we are doing, this all should be done by technical consultant. Once this is done, we will create the format. We will see that. And again, click on view as a list and scroll little down. Here you can see the template which we uploaded, a digital check template. And when you use this template, what should be the default format when you generate the payment file format? When you generate the report on the payment, that default format you can set. Say default is PDF. And you can save it. Save the changes. Done. So this all should be done by technical consultant. Once these are done, we can go and create the format based on this template. Okay, so far what we have seen. So this process need to be completed by technical consultant. So in between, they have to do the modifications. By using the XML tool, they do the modifications. It's all about alignments within the check. So now we can go and create the format. As a functional consultant, we have to create the format. Let's see how to create the format. You can go to implementation project, or you can navigate to search page to create the formats. Setup and maintenance. Task list. Search. Search for formats. Or you can type as a manage formats. So click on manage formats. And click on here. First you select the format type. The format type is disbursement payment file formats. Select, click on create. The name is digital check format. A digital check format. can give the code and select the template, whatever technical consultant is created. Okay, the template, whatever created by technical consultant to print the respective bank related checks. Now here you treat as digital as the bank name and select our template. So digital check template, select, say okay. And save and close. Now this is the template which you can select at the time of bank account creation and the payment process profile. Let's see that. Go to bank accounts. So manage bank accounts. Find out our bank account. Click on edit. So payment documents. Here we have a standard check. So for our practice purpose, we selected standard check. Reality, so technical people need to modify these templates and we have to choose accordingly based on the bank account. We have to choose the relevant template. Okay. So in the test instance, when we work on the test instance as a part of implementation initial stage, you can use the standard check. Once technical consultant creates these templates, later you can update and you can use this. Now click on edit. We have issue in this. Go to other browser. Go to bank account page. Search bank accounts. Manage bank accounts. Find out our bank account. So digital corporate account. Select and click on edit. And click on edit. So this is seeded one. Now you can select whatever created for this bank. This you can say custom format. Okay, this is created by your technical consultant that you can choose for respective bank. If you have 4 bank related accounts, you have 4 bank accounts. 4 bank accounts are belongs to 4 different banks. So now you have to create 4 formats. Before that, technical consultant should create 4 templates. By using each template, you can create separate format. You can map those formats as per the bank account. Say okay. So save and close. Not only here, you have to map this format at payment process profile level. Go to payment process profile. So manage payment process profiles. Find out whatever we created. Just click on edit. And here you can choose whatever we created. This is the one we created. Select. So save and close. So these are the two places you can set up the format which is developed by technical consultant. The test instance, when we start working on the setups and testing, you can use standard check format. Once the templates are ready, you can create the format and you can override it bank account level as well as payment process profile level. This is the process we have to follow. So that's all about formats. Let's see invoice image solution. So invoice image solution is nothing but creating invoices based on the scanned images. Say our supplier is sending scanned image. They scanned invoice details and they are emailing us. That information you can use to create the invoice. You don't want to enter all the details in the system by seeing the invoice copy what you are getting from the supplier. So supplier will submit that invoice copy as a scanned image. System has to recognize the information from that image and it should create invoice in our payables automatically by following certain process. So that's what we call as invoice imaging solution or invoice image solution. So or you call as IDR. Okay, we call as IDR, intelligence document recognizer. IDR solution you can call. Okay, intelligence document recognizer. So with what we have to do is you no need to do any additional setups. It's a inbuilt solution. Okay, it's a ready-made solution. It's not a third-party solution. So it's inbuilt, but client has to take the separate subscription. If client has subscription for payables, they can use the payables functionalities, but not invoice image solution. For invoice image solution, the additional subscription is required. So what process we have to follow? What process we have to follow? As a functional consultant, so just we have to verify the subscription is enabled in our instance or not, and then we can take that initiative like contacting Oracle if the subscription is not enabled. The rest is standard process only. Let me write the steps or notes related to this. How you can navigate to this invoice imaging solution page or IDR page. Here is the path what you have to follow. You have to use the instance standard URL slash type imaging. It should be lowercase imaging. So this is how you can navigate to this page. Before you navigate to this page, you have to check certain points, whether you have a subscription or not for this invoice imaging solution. Subscription in the sense, you may have a subscription, but that should be enabled in the instance. We'll go and check. First, we'll verify the subscription is enabled or not. Go to setup and maintenance, task list, click on search. Here you can search with the term called as intelligence document recognition. So you can use this task. Manage intelligent document recognition options. So click on this. Within this task, you can see that is active or not in this instance. It is active, and this is the email ID Oracle is providing. Okay, this is the email ID. This is active. It is active. This is the email ID they are providing. Now, what is the next step? If it is not active, you have to raise SR to Oracle. You have to raise SR, service request to Oracle, stating that we took the subscription, but in our environment, it is not active. That's how we have to raise SR so that they will enable for our instance and they will allocate one email ID. This is a dedicated email ID for our instance. Now, what we have to do is, means we in the sense our client, the client has to share this email ID to their suppliers. Their suppliers can submit the images, invoices on this email ID. Those will be routed to this instance. This is URL will point to this instance only. Instance specific email ID. If suppliers are going to submit the images, if suppliers are going to submit the images on this email ID, those directly will come to this imaging center. This is the page. How you can navigate to this page, instance URL / imaging. That's all. Okay. Just this is the instance URL / you have to type imaging, the lowercase. Okay, imaging. Enter. This would be / and all. Imaging. Okay. So this is the point. Okay. The very first point is we have to check whether imaging solution is active or not. It is active, okay. If it is not active, write SR, raise SR to Oracle, and they will enable and they'll allocate one email ID. That email ID your client can share to their suppliers, and the suppliers will start sending the images, scanned images on this email ID. Those you can find in this the imaging center. In this page you can find, or else you can do one thing. You can receive the images from your supplier and you can submit those images on this email ID. You have to send those images on this email ID. You may submit as a client or your suppliers may submit. Ultimately, those images will come to this imaging center. Now you can find those images here. Click on payables invoice search. Just click on payables invoice search. Now you can search for specific supplier images or based on the purchase order, invoice number or document creation date, or you can find out all the images here. Click on search. Now here you can see all the images which are submitted to this instance through that email ID. Now you can view those images from here. Say for example, I'm selecting this image and click on open or click on launch. So I'm clicking on open. So this is the image we received from the supplier. Okay. The intelligence document recognizer can read the data from this format. Every supplier can provide different format. I'm not talking about the file format within the file data format. So each supplier can give different format, data formats, and each supplier can give different file format. One supplier may provide the scanned image in the PDF format, other supplier may be in the Word, and one more supplier may be in the JPG format or TIFF or different formats they can provide, and within that formats, data formats can be different. But still, this solution can read the data and it can extract the data from those file formats or data formats. It has that capacity. And you can open other, just I'm selecting this. This is in the PDF. Okay. This is in the TIFF. Okay, TIFF file format. This is in the PDF. So this is the PDF format. Anything it can read and it can extract the key information. What information is extracting? Invoice number, invoice date, invoice amount, supplier, okay, purchase order information. These are the key attributes it is extracting from the file which is submitted to Invoice Imaging Center, or you can call it as imaging solution, or you can call as document intelligent document recognizer, IDR. So if you want to do some changes, you can do the changes. Say you select that record, click on edit. You can do the required changes here. Okay, this information is capturing from the image. Certain details it will capture from the system also based on the imaging solution, image information. If you want to do some changes, you can do the changes here and you can update. And if you want to delete certain images, yes, you can delete. Say so and so image submitted, it doesn't have a proper information. You can correct or else you can delete and you can submit again. So select this and you can click on delete that record. If you want to delete, yes, you can delete. So this is how just you can manage this scanned images data here. Once this data is available here, you can go to payables and you can import this data into payables application. So go to invoice workbench, payables, invoices. Go to task list. Go to import invoices task. Import invoices. Yes, we want to import the invoices belongs to business unit, this ledger. And source we have to select as where we have images in the invoice image solution. Okay, invoice imaging you can call as IDR, you can call, or image center you can call, but source point of view they given the name as invoice image. Select invoice image and submit. If any images are available in the imaging center which are belongs to our business unit, how system will identify our business unit? So within the image, supplier will give the PO number in our system. So whatever the POs are available based on those POs, that invoices belongs to which BU system can recognize automatically. Supplier is not going to give any invoice with our BU name. Our BU name can be identified by matching the PO numbers within our system. Within our purchasing application, we have a PO. When we just load that image information into the system to create invoice, it will look at the PO. The PO is whether the PO is available in the purchasing application or not, it will check. If PO is available, that should belongs to so and so business unit. That's how system can recognize which PO, which invoice or belongs to which business unit. That's how it will get that information into right BU. Say okay or cancel, then it will run the process. That process will import all the invoices information to payables that you can see in this scan section. Scan for scanned images only. Okay, scanned images only. So you can see here, there are 17 invoices which are available in this invoice workbench. These are the invoices which are loaded. So if the information is incomplete, you may just correct and you can do the validation and you can process it. If data is fine with the image what you are getting and you have your PO information from purchasing, then automatically it can complete the invoice creation. If PO information is available, it can create invoice automatically. We have seen in the last session. So we given the PO number, it is creating the line and distribution information. In the same way here also, header information can be copied from this invoice image and rest of information it can copy based on the PO information what you have in the specific image. So that's how it can create. If you open any one of the invoice, what you created by using the imaging solution, so the images also you can find as a attached to that invoice only. Okay. So once you create invoice, see here, whatever the images you see. So this is the imaging center. Within this, what are the images we have? Based on this images, system going to create invoice in the payables, and it will copy these attachments also. These file attachments, it will copy. So once invoice is created, always you can have a reference. That invoice record is created based on the which is scanned image. That image also you can find. Just open any one of the invoice. You can see that information. So this is the invoice which got created with that scanned image solution. This is the file. You can close this. Here also you can find the same attachment. So from this imaging center, the attachments also system will copy, and anytime just you can open and you can see those. So this is a ready-made solution. Okay, what we have to do is only one point. We have to ensure that is active in our instance. If not active, just go and raise SR, service request from Oracle support. You can just, when you are working as a consultant, you will have access to Oracle Global Support. So there is a portal called as Oracle Support. If you go and type in the Google Oracle Support, the portal URL will pop up. You can just log into that. There will be an option called as service request. There you can create the service request saying that we have a subscription, but it is not enabled in our instance. Please enable or activate. They will activate, then you can start using. You no need to do any mappings, no customizations. It's a ready-made solution, inbuilt solution. So this is what we have to understand about invoice image solution in the payables application, and a separate subscription is required. If your client has a subscription for payables, that is not at all enough. They need to take the separate subscription for this invoice imaging solution. Okay. It's inbuilt solution, not third party solution. And another point is, if you are from EBS background, you can take this now. If you are from Fusion, if you are not aware of EBS, if you are going through this Fusion classes directly, you no need to focus on this point. So when you talk about security profile or MOAC, multi-org access control, in EBS, we know we have a concept called as responsibility. We have a concept called as responsibility. You take example of AP responsibility and say you have a multiple operating units, OU1, like in Fusion BUs, in EBS, we have operating units, operating unit 2, operating unit 3. Now, we need to access to these 3 operating units. Then what we have to do is we have to create 3 responsibilities by default. So AP responsibility 1, AP responsibility 2. That's how we have to create different responsibilities. So 3 responsibility. For each responsibility, you have to assign your operating unit. OU1 to responsibility 1, OU2 to responsibility 2, OU3 to responsibility 3. This is how you can assign each operating unit to one responsibility. These 3 responsibilities you may assign to one user so that that user can have access to these 3 operating units through 3 responsibilities. Say if the user is working for operating unit 1, they have to be in AP responsibility 1. If they want to record the transactions for operating unit 2, they have to switch from AP responsibility 1 to AP responsibility 2. To create invoices or process the payments for OU3, again, they have to switch the responsibility 3. Switching is required. Instead of switching, we can use security profile. You can group all the operating units by using the security profile, and this security profile you can assign to single responsibility. So that is a solution we have in EBS. So if you want to have access to multiple operating units, multiple responsibilities you have to create. For each responsibility, you can assign only one operating unit in EBS. But if you want to have access to multiple operating units from single responsibility, create security profile by grouping all this. Now you can have only one responsibility. Okay, you can have only one responsibility. You can assign this to, say, this responsibility. Say AP responsibility. You assign this security profile or MOSC. Okay, the system we create a security profile that you can assign to this, so that this responsibility will have access to the security profile. Within the security profile, we have 3 operating units. This user can have access to 3 operating units directly. No switching is required. So this is how we have a solution in EBS. But in the Fusion, there is no responsibility concept, there is no switching. So you can assign multiple business units in Fusion to single user for the same role also. Whenever you go to navigator, you will find payables. You click on invoices, you will be landing in the invoice page, and there itself you can see all the BUs for how many BUs your user got access. So there is no switching concept. Without implementing any security profile or MOAC concept in the Fusion, you will be able to get the same benefit. If in EBS, if you implement MOAC or security profile, whatever you can do in the Fusion, without doing that, you can achieve that through standard functionality. Okay. So this is what we have to understand about the security profile or MOAC. Since roles concept we have, in EBS we have a responsibilities, in the Fusion we have a roles, but in EBS, if you want to have access to different operating units, you have to switch from one to other responsibilities so that you can connect to the relevant operating unit. But if you want to access to multiple operating units from single responsibility, you have to group all the operating units that you can assign to row responsibility with the concept called as security profile. But without doing anything, these activities in the Fusion, directly that functionality is enabled. If you assign multiple business units to single user through so-and-so role, directly you can access to all the BUs by navigating to the relevant pages. No role switching we have in the Fusion application. This is what we have to understand. You don't need to switch the roles. So based on the roles, you will have access to tasks within the navigator. Accordingly, you can access, but you no need to switch from one role to another role. If you log into this instance, you are not going to select accounts payable manager or accounts payable specialist or accounts payable supervisor. Across these roles, what are the privileges we have? Accordingly, we are able to access to the relevant pages. Within those pages, those roles got access to which business units, those all you can find in the drop down. Okay, here you can find, if you try to create invoice, so everything you are able to see in the invoice creation page itself. You no need to switch from one role to another role to have access to different sets of data. So directly you have drop down. Okay. To connect to so and so business unit, you no need to switch to another role. That is not there, not required in the fusion. This is what you have to understand. Okay. So if you are from EBS background, to achieve this, we create the security profile, then only you can achieve. But in the fusion, by default, it is possible. This is what we have to understand about it. Fine. These approvals we will test later. Okay. So just we have seen this OTBI and IDR, invoice imaging solution format. This is nothing, just to compare with EBS. If you are from EBS background, I mentioned. So this is only the pending. This will do in the other instance. It is not working in the current instance which you are using for classes. This will do in the other instance. Now quickly we'll start with the receivables application configuration. We'll see these are the basic setups we have to complete for receivables so that we can start with the receivables concepts. Okay, once we are done with these setups, we can go through these concepts one by one. We'll see, there's a big list. So first we'll go and complete these basic setups. After completing the basic setups, we can see how to create transaction receipt and various type of transaction, various type of receipts, different business scenarios, business cases we can discuss and we can test. So in payables, we have a common options. We have a common options for payables and procurement. So with the common options, we can set certain defaults. We can set all the accounts which need to be defaulted based on the transactions and certain controls. The same is applicable for receivable system options. Within the receivables, you can set a controls how we are going to use the receivables application. So in payables, we have a common options, invoice options, and payment options. Invoice options to control the invoice process, payment options to control the payment process, and common options to provide accounts. But by combining those all in receivables, they given the system options. In the system options itself, you will have a controls for transactions, will have a controls for receipts, you'll have a controls for accounts. Everything you have in the system options. So go to our implementation project, we can see how to set up the system options. And another important point is, if you load setups through rapid implementation, I mean to say, if you create your primary ledger and a business unit through rapid implementation, system can take care of system option setup. You no need to do it. Let's see that. Click on manage implementation projects. Go to our implementation project. Go to our implementation project, open, and go to system options. Or you can search for receivable system options. Here is the task. The task name is manage receivable system options. Click on this task. Click on go to task icon. Just click on go to task icon. So if you are doing the setups through manual process, you have to click on create. Just you have to click on create and you can select your business unit. Select your business unit and you have to set mandatory information initially. Later you can set up as per the functionality what you require. This is how you can select your business unit and you can set information which is mandatory here. Then once you start working on the system based on the concepts, you can set the data. But initially, this is how you have to set. But we loaded our business unit. We created our business unit by using rapid implementation. It means you no need to set up. System already completed that setup. This is what you have to understand. If you complete your business unit on primer ledger setups, means we use the rapid implementation template. By using the rapid implementation template, if you create the setups, you no need to go and set up these system options. You can always think it is ready to use. That means system can complete the system options in case of rapid implementation. You just search for your business unit so that you can find out the system options which are already completed by rapid implementation process. So just don't click on create, not required if you are using the rapid implementation template. If you are going with a manual process, you have to follow this and you can set that information. If it is a rapid implementation process, directly you can find out your BU. With your BU, you can find your system options. Then just click on advanced tab and select start with digital search. You are able to see our BU when you are searching. If it is coming here, it means already system options are available. Otherwise, in the search, it doesn't appear. When you click on create only, it will appear. Okay, please notice this point. See, it's very important. Click on go to task icon. Task name is manage system options. So you use rapid implementation template, then you can find your BU from here to find out the system options. If you are doing the setups through manual process, you did not use any rapid implementation template, then you have to click on create. Then you can find your BU and you can do the setups. So now click on drop down. Since we use rapid implementation template, you can find our BU in this list as system options are already available. Search criteria is start with search for digital, select, say OK. Click on search. Now we are able to see our BU record. It means system options are already completed. So select this record, click on edit to see how the system options are available for our BU, which are configured by rapid implementation process. So already we discussed how system can create the code combination. So in the rapid implementation template, we have extended tagging. Because of the tagging, account code combination can be created wherever those are applicable. Just find out our business unit, select that record, click on edit. Now you can see the system options. System options are completed for our BU. Here is our BU associated ledger. So all the mandatory fields data filled. Okay, under billing and revenue and cash forecasting. This is for transaction, this is for receipts. We'll come back to the system options many times when we deal with each and every concept, what setups we have to do, like what is the meaning of it. To understand, we'll revisit these system options multiple times. For now, you no need to do anything. You can click on cancel to close this page. We are not setting up, system already completed. This is what you have to just notice. Okay, you just, when you practice, you just review what information system filled also, what mandatory fields it filled. If you are doing through manual process, you can set, or else at least one BU, you can just use the rapid implementation, it will fill. And the same you can replicate for other BUs if you are doing the setup for multiple BUs. Now, in payables, we created invoices. If you are creating invoices, within the invoice creation screen, you can find invoice types. And when you are creating the payments, you have a payment types. Those are predefined. Yes, in receivables also, transactions or receipts are predefined. And for our controlling purpose, what Oracle is doing is, if you want to create an invoice in the payables, yes, receivables, invoices are there in the receivables also. But to use any invoice or you can say transaction, you have to create transaction type. Say you want to create sales invoice in the receivables. To create the sales invoice, they are giving option. But how you want to create the sales invoice, how you want to process the sales invoice, the sales invoice you want to create with a positive amount or negative amount, or the sales invoice you want to print or not, with the sales invoice, what accounts you want to capture, all the options Oracle is giving us with the concept called as transaction type. If you want to create the sales invoice in the pay receivables application, first we have to create transaction type. Say you want to create sales invoice, you want to create debit memo, you want to create the credit memo. Any transaction type you want to create in the receivables, you have to create the transaction type. The transaction type can define the process of the transaction receivables. Without transaction type, you cannot create the transaction, the receivables. But in the payables, those are seeded. You can go and create any invoice. You can select standard invoice, debit memo, credit memo, prepayment, right? Different invoice types we have. You can select and you can create. But in receivables, we got a flexibility. In receivables point of view, we act as a suppliers. Since we are going to generate the bill to send to our customers, we can have a more flexibility how you want to generate the bill. So that we can see, we have to do the relevant setups. To create the transaction, the receivables transaction type is mandatory. Let's create the transaction types in the receivables application. Search for transaction types. Okay, here is the task. Manage transaction types. The task name is Manage transaction types. Click on Manage transaction types. Here is the task. Click on Go to Task icon. Say Create. In receivables, for most of the setups, we use reference data set. Payables we have seen for payment terms, but in receivables, many setups, transaction type, many setups we use the reference data set concept to set a controls for this configuration data for BU level. Now, whenever you do use this reference data set, better you can use common because our BU level we have a common only. So transaction type set is nothing but reference data set. Select common. This is the one which Oracle is providing. Select. And here legal entity selection is not mandatory. Okay, legal entity selection is not mandatory because this transaction type we create and we assign to our BU. When you assign to BU, already BU level there will be legal entity. We mapped primary ledger under legal entity to business unit. That system can use. If you want to select legal entity, you can select, but not mandatory. We are creating this transaction type for what purpose? To create the invoice transaction. You can give the same name. For our identification purpose, you give always digital as a prefix. Say digital invoice. So transaction class, you have to select invoice. For invoice creation purpose, we are creating this transaction type. So select transaction class as invoice. We are going to create invoice transaction by using this transaction type. Set transaction status always as open. Rest all just to manage the transaction type record, not to use. select transaction status. The rest you can see. Closed means you are not going to use this transaction type. Void means earlier you used and you are making void. There is no big difference between closed and void. And pending in the sense you not yet completed this transaction type related setup. So you may keep as a pending. If you want to use any transaction type, always you select status as open so that you can use. In payables, when you create the invoice, if it is a standard invoice, you have to enter only positive amount. In case of debit or credit memo, you can create debit or credit memo with only negative sign. That's how Oracle program. But in the receivables, you have a flexibility you can set up. When you create the transaction type called, by using the transaction type called as digital invoice, when you create invoice, the amounts can be entered in which side? Creation sign you can set. I can set any, that means invoice can be created in the receivables with a positive amount or negative amount, or I can say only positive or only negative. Since invoice, always we create with a positive sign. Select creation sign as a positive. And when you create this invoice information we have to submit to customers. Being a supplier, we have to submit to customers. So this need to be printed. So for printing purpose, you select generate bill as yes. It means you are telling to the system with this transaction type, when you create invoice that you want to print. Generate bill as means you want to print and you want to send to supplier, customer. And here few important attributes we have to understand. Open receivables. Open receivables means with this transaction type, if you create any transaction by selecting the customer, the transaction related balances will be updated against the customer. Say by using digital invoice, I'm going to create one transaction with $50,000 by selecting XYZ customer. Then the $50,000 will be updated against that customer since transaction type level, this open receivables is enabled. If I disable with this transaction type, if I go and create one transaction against XYZ customer, I can create the transaction. If I go and verify the customer balances, the 50,000 you don't find. So mostly if you create the pro forma invoice, you disable it and you create the transaction type. It is kind of quotation. You give quotation to the customers. That is not a real invoice. So there you can disable these open receivables and you can create transaction type and you can use it for pro forma invoice purpose. So now you can enable it. Every time it should be enabled because whatever the transaction we create, the balances need to be updated against the customer account. And post to ledger means with this transaction type, when you create transactions, we have to create accounting entries and the same information we have to transfer to GL also. That's very much important for every transaction. So post to ledger means it will create accounting entry, it will transfer to GL. The same can be posted in the GL. So that is very much important for us. Other checkbox here, natural applications only. It means, so you create a transaction with a 10,000 and how much receipt amount you want to apply. If transaction amount is 10,000, you may apply less than 10,000 or 10,000 max, not more than 10,000. Natural applications means system will allow to apply receipt amount not more than transaction amount. Transaction amount is 1 lakh. You can apply the receipt max 1 lakh, not more than 1 lakh. That we call as natural applications, natural application only. It means system will not allow us to apply receipts more than transaction amount. If you have a transaction of 5,000, you can apply up to receipt amount 5,000. If you want to apply more than transaction amount, disable natural application, enable over application. Generally, we don't use it. So this is only the option. Whatever Oracle is enabling, you accept it. Those are primary. Now, this transaction type can be used by which business unit? You have to assign this transaction type to that BU. here is the option to assign this transaction type to our business unit. Okay, reference account. So just click on create or say assign, select our business unit. So sometimes it's a case sensitive. I just type D as a small. So, but you can type from here. We don't know what search criteria also available. It is equal. So start with and search, select, okay. So automatically system is taking all these accounts because tagging is available in the rapid implementation template for all these accounts. And notice these accounts are not mandatory in this assignment. So all the fields are optional. But why Oracle given these accounts here, we will understand in the further setups. But please make a note. So we are creating the transaction type, the same transaction type we are assigning to our BU. At the time of BU assignment, system is taking all the accounts, revenue account, receivables account, tax, right? Many account system is deriving, it's defaulting. How it is defaulting? Because of the rapid implementation template, account additional taggings, it is taking. Where these accounts can be useful, we will discuss when we do further setups. You just say okay, and you can say save and create another. So save and create another, and select reference data set as a common. You can create digital debit memo. Transaction class you can select as a debit memo. Transaction status you can select as open. In receivables, debit memo is positive side. What is the business case we will discuss when you record it. For now, keep it as a positive. Yes, we want to generate the bill. Assign this transaction type to RBU. Say okay. Say save and create another. This. Now create one more transaction type for debit memo, credit memo. So digital credit memo. Class you can select as credit memo. Status should be open. For credit memo, sign is negative in receivables. Select negative. And yes, you want to print and assign. Done. Say save and create another. Select reference data set as a common set. Give the name as one more transaction type you have to create is digital chargeback. We will understand what is the meaning of debit memo, credit memo, chargeback in receivables. So select chargeback, open. Chargeback is similar to invoice only, but there is a business case we will discuss. Keep the sign as a positive and set printing option as required and assign this transaction type to our business unit and say okay. Say save and close. So this is how we have to create transaction types to create the transactions. Without transaction type, you cannot create the transactions in the receivable application. Now, so if you want to create the numbering for the transaction types, we have to create transaction source. So when you create invoice by using digital invoice transaction type, what number system has to generate? When you create the transaction by using digital debit memo, what number, digital credit memo, what number it has to generate, we have to set up by using the transaction source. In payables, we entered invoice number. Why? We are receiving invoice from our supplier. We have to follow. But as a part of receivables, we are going to act as a supplier. We are not going to follow anyone. Our customer will follow whatever the invoice we give, that number they will follow. but you can generate any number. That is the reason in receivables always we generate automatic number for every transaction, every bill we generate for the customers. For that, you can use the transaction source. You can say by using the transaction type, you can define the transaction process. With the transaction type, you can define the transaction process. With the transaction source, you can set number generation for the transaction. By using the transaction type, you can create the transaction. When you create the transaction, what number system should trigger, what number system should generate based on the transaction, that you can set by using the transaction source. We completed system option setup and transaction type. The source we'll see in the next session. Okay, we have to create the sources for the transaction types, so that whenever you create the transaction, the system can generate the number automatically. Okay, this we will see in the next session. Done.